Ông Ashoka Hettigoda, Chủ tịch Phòng Thương mại Quốc gia Sri Lanka, trưởng đoàn đại biểu doanh nghiệp Sri Lanka tới Việt Nam, Tổng giám đốc của tập đoàn Hettigoda, điều hành nhiều bệnh viện, khách sạn và spa sử dụng phương pháp Ayurveda tại Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Mr. Ashoka, for joining our talk today. It's my pleasure. So, have you ever been to Vietnam?
No, this is my first visit to Vietnam.
So, what about your feeling about the Vietnam? Your imagination about Vietnam before you visiting Vietnam?
Well, I was extremely blessed with meeting several Vietnamese, including your Excellency, your President, during his visit to Sri Lanka last month. So and also a dear friend of our family is the ambassador here in Vietnam. So we had very high expectations, and I'm pleased to tell you that they were all true.
Oh, really? So is there any similarity between Vietnam and Sri Lanka?
Well, I see there are a lot of similarities. I mean, Sri Lanka and Vietnam both eat a lot of rice. Our main staple food is rice. And there are a lot of Buddhists in these two countries, and also you have regions where you drink tea, and Sri Lanka is well known for its Ceylon tea. And a lot of similarities in the culture, your dance formats, and most importantly, I think your people are very hospitable, and Sri Lankans are too.
So how about other members of Sri Lanka delegation to Vietnam? How about their feeling about Vietnam?
Well, actually most of them, I think almost all of them, this is their first visit to Vietnam. They certainly, after a week of meeting the leaders of your business community, including the top members of businesses in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, your political leadership, several ministries of trade, investment, and lastly His Excellency, your President. They are extremly pleased with the response, the warm hospitality that has been extended, and the friendship and the opportunities that they see in this country.
So I know that in your home country, you are a director of Hettigoda Industry Limited Company. So can you share with us more about the information about your country in terms of its plans and visions?
Well, actually my grandfather started this company in 1934 to make Ayurvedic natural products. Then it was my father in 1971 who built up the companies. Today the companies own this large products company, hotels, hospitals, spas, plantations, and the future is that we are the largest company in this sector in Sri Lanka. We want to be world ranked in the top 3.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to actually introduce this concept of Ayurvedic products and lifestyle to the Vietnamese people.
I think it's great vision, and you think you guys can make it in the future?
Yes, I strongly believe the interest among the Vietnamese people of natural things, traditional things, are quite good, and these are a very strong similarity between the two cultures.
That could be great. So I know that you plan to introduce the new products named Ayurveda. Can you explain more about the term Ayurveda?
Well, Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word meaning science of life. It's a lifestyle philosophy of Sri Lanka, India medicine, going back to 3,000–4,000 years, and these are primarily based on herbs, and I believe this concept has been treating or been used by the whole Southeast Asian subcontinent, and it's gaining popularity in the West, in US, Europe, Japan, and I think slowly the whole world is looking at these holistic concepts of having a better lifestyle. And this system is no better than anything else, and I think there is a lot of acceptance in these types of alternative remedies.
So do you think that Ayurveda products will be suitable for Vietnamese people? Because I know that the method of making it a little bit strange to the Vietnamese people.
Well, I think maybe the concept is a little different, but the philosophy is, I think, is already here in Vietnam. In your country also you have certain indigenous forms of remedies, local remedies, medicines, certain alternative ways of doing things.
As the President of National Chamber of Commerce of Sri Lanka, what are your assessment on the relationship between Sri Lanka and Vietnam?
Well, right now I feel the economic relationship is at its infancy, because if you look at the total trade volume, it's less than 100 million US dollars. But I know the two countries have had a very strong political relationship, and it is our duty. Now it's our turn to make the economic relationship a lot stronger. The two leaders about a month ago met and agreed to increase the trade between the two countries to US dollars 1 billion in the next coming years. So there's a lot of work that the business communities of two countries have to do in the coming years.
That's a great figure, and I think it's very impressive. So how about the fields that Sri Lanka and Vietnam have a good cooperation up to now?
Well, right now there have been only very few fields. I think one of the areas that we have good cooperation is textiles, because you have a very large garments apparel industry in Vietnam, and Sri Lanka also to a certain extent. So there is some cooperation between the two countries. There are some Sri Lankan companies who have invested in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But the other areas are rather small cooperation. There is agriculture, machinery, technology a little bit. But there is a lot more scope in the future.
So do you think what are some potential fields that two sides should improve to have a more further good cooperation in the future?
Well, I can list a few. I mean, say for example, in tea, Sri Lanka is known to be the best tea producer in the world, and we can share some technology here to your country. But in your country, you are considered the best rubber plantation processing country. Yeah, I hear that yesterday your president indicated that you have gone even beyond Malaysia. So we are very proud, and maybe that we two countries can jointly develop these two areas. You have done a lot of work in oil exploration. Sri Lanka has been just recently identified as a location for oil deposits. There is a lot of technology that can transfer in the textile industry,
that's great.
Agriculture machinery, agro-technology. So these are quite a number. I mean, these are, I would say, fisheries. Yesterday we met your Ministry of Investment, Foreign Investment. They said you have a lot of fishery technology. So I mean, I feel the scope is very large, and achieving this target is not going to be a problem if we work together.
So in the future, what are some further plans of your company in particular and your Chamber of Commerce of Sri Lanka in general in Vietnam?
Well, let's first look at the chamber activities, and we hope that there will be more stronger relations. Lines of communication should be more open, and that more businesses will start trading between the two countries, because we have a sizable population of over 85 million, I was told. Sri Lanka has about 21 million. Sri Lanka's GDP per capita is at around $2,500 right now, and it is expected to grow up to $4,000 by 2016. So there are a lot of opportunities for Vietnamese companies to enter into this middle market economy. And vice versa, Sri Lankans can also enter into the Vietnamese economy, and investments between the two countries. So I would hope in the near future Sri Lanka and Vietnam become actually very key, strong economic partners. With respect to our company, I think our idea is to have a presence here in the field of Ayurvedic products, as also Ayurvedic health centers, and so that we can introduce this concept of alternative natural remedies to the Vietnamese people.
That's great. So before we ending our show, do you have anything to talk to the audiences, especially the one who concerned about the economic fields?
Well, I must tell that we are in very exciting times. This whole region is going to drive the world economy, and we have to be lucky to be part of this these growing times. And the partnership between Sri Lanka and Vietnam will, I believe, will grow from strength to strength, and while preserving the values of two cultures and nurturing them to become prosperous nations. And thank you very much for the hospitality extended by your people to our delegation, and we hope to visit Vietnam more frequently and to make our economic ties even stronger. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Asoska, for joining our talk today, and it's my pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ta.